We'll get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pulla Ravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So today is our Sridhar Ji's birthday, right? So I always think about him. I'm so grateful to him for giving us this opportunity to do the Bhagavad Gita classes, So wishing him really a very happy birthday.
Yes, that's right.
So we are almost coming to the end of the chapter 9. And today I wanted to see if Meena Shankar Meena is here, right? Meena? So
Yes.
Meena had, Meena, you had posted that beautiful story. Would you like to say something about that in our reflection time before we get into?
Yeah, before that, remember I sent you a message. If you can
Yes.
post that picture there so everybody will know what it is, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I'll have to send it to everyone.
Maybe
Okay,
next week we can do if it
next
is
week.
not.
Next week we'll
Yeah,
do it. Sorry about
yeah,
it. I saw
that's
the
okay.
message. Think about the future. Okay,
No
very
problem.
good. Sure. So I want to start off with really because this chapter is all about bhakti. Just a little bit of this discussion on bhakti. I want 1 second. I don't know why this is not letting me move my screen. Ah, okay. Ah, there you go. So what do you think is the kind of bhakti we are practicing today? Last time, I just put a simple question on what are the stresses and all that. But in order for us to clearly understand the kind of bhakti that Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna in chapter 9, we have to be clear on really the kind of bhakti that we are doing today. Any thoughts on this one? I know Anant will have something to say, right, Anant or Suharna?
Yeah.
But
Hariom,
Hari Om.
yeah, the bhakti that's mentioned, that what we practice is limited bhakti. I mean, I would say like, okay, we pray to God, but again, not at that stage, where we say, Sarvadharman Parichajya Mamekam, you know.
Okay.
So again, Ananya Sentayanto Maijana Paripaste, Tesha Anucha Bhiktano Yogakshama Vahamyam. So, I mean, so that we keep practicing that until we go there, because Bhagavan is giving the assurance, and
Mm-hmm.
that belief has to come,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sometime. Yes.
Yeah. No, but practically speaking, when you said, when we close our eyes and we think about God, right? What really the thought comes to our head at that point? Because we practice bhakti in that sense that we go to the God, we go to the Lord, and but then what is actually the thought that comes to my head when I am praying to that Lord? Do
Yeah.
I really think that, okay, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paripaste, oh Lord, just I'm focusing on you, or that yoga and kshema is the one that comes first? You know, uh, I'm coming to you because I really need you to take care of my job here. I don't know if tomorrow my boss is going to let me go or whatever. Is that how we go to God, or which is actually not bad at all? It's not that Krishna is against it, but that's what I'm really asking the question, to be honest to ourselves. When I go to the temple, when I go to this, what is the thought that comes to my head, right?
Hari Om,
Yeah.
I understand your question that, when we are standing in front of the Lord, what do we, what do we ask, or what do we actually think? Uh, I'm going to also going what Anand said. I'm going to add on that. Yes, we should. It's from the BMI standpoint. We think of, okay, we either health or something from that point of view, wealth or future prosperity and
Right.
stuff like that. But at that moment when we are standing in front of the Lord, our if we can clear our mind of everything, there is no asha, everything is prasantam, pure peace. It's that if we can even achieve that for the time that we are lighting the lamp and we are standing in front of the Lord, I think that would be wonderful. And if that is what I'm thinking, that pure peace and calmness that we would have, we would
Right.
attain when we are standing. We at this point,
Right.
we are not at nirguna bhakti, we are at saguna. We need a form. So we need to when we stand in front of our ishta devata, we are thinking of the ishta devata. If we can
Yeah.
just focus and clear our mind, we are only thinking of the ishta devata. We
Yeah.
might be
So,
praying for something else, but at that moment we are only thinking of our ishta devata.
yeah. So, but then that is not what we are practicing today, right?
No,
We are not necessarily. So,
no,
all the things that you've said, which is lighting the lamp, going to the temple, all those rituals that I'm doing, it should be towards getting that calmness. But then we are not practicing that kind of bhakti today, right?
no.
Hari
So,
Om.
Hari Om, Mama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we are worshipping the small gods to,
Correct.
to face the day-to-day life and problems, and that is what we are doing. We
Yes.
should go to the step that Swarna is saying, but
Correct.
today, the question you asked, what are we practicing today to accomplish things in our day-to-day life? So it's the
Yes.
small devadas that we are worshipping. That's what I
Correct.
feel.
Absolutely, 100%, Amma. We are indeed practicing to the smaller devatas. In fact, that whole aspect of the God, uh, from all the way from Nirguna to Saguna, to the Devatas, to our uh, bosses. Even they are like Devatas for us, right? We are praying to our boss that, okay, give me that promotion. We are praying to even our own people next to us, give me that love. We are praying to us. In a way, we are also praying to our own children sometimes. Oh, please give me a call. That expectation that we have reduced that level of bhakti to to the tangible things which is in front of me. If I'm in this room, for example, one whole week, I didn't have any internet in my room actually. And you can imagine, how our life has become, where now, oh, when will this internet, when will I get my internet? That has become my devata. So we have reduced our bhakti to that level, is how I feel it. Ananta, you wanted to make Anant, a
Just a
comment?
comment. Yeah. So, we ask God all the, worldly things, and then, something to make us better. Whereas Bhagavan can give the ultimate, the moksha. So,
Correct.
again, the thought won't has to come. And,
Right.
once, we ask for like a moksha, then
Mm-hmm.
he will give everything with that.
Correct.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. If I ask for the biggest of the gifts, everything else is a package deal, actually, isn't it? Everything else I can get,
It
but we're
reminds
not looking for the highest one. Yeah, go ahead, Meenu.
It reminds me of Swami Chinmayanandaji's story. He tells that God is standing like this because whenever Bhakta comes, he says, "Give me your mind, I'll purify and give it back." He thinks, "Oh, this one is coming, he might do that." But then again, people are asking, he said, "I'm jobless. Koi nahi aata hai mere paas." Like the fun way Swamiji told once. So,
Correct. Very beautiful. Yes, absolutely. He is there waiting to fulfill our highest desire, but we are actually we are downgrading the God to the level of our want.
Hari Om.
You're absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm listening to everybody what you're saying. Actually, what I feel is we don't have patience for that. We want everything right away. So we say, oh, I don't have a job. I want it. I need a house. My kid is to get married. I have to find a suitable match. So everything we want in a fraction of a second. Oh, if we pray today, and then after 1 or 2 months, say, I've been praying to you for so many years, but you're not giving me. So ultimately, we don't have patience because God knows when and where and what time we have to. Has to be done only then. But that thought, it's still we are not getting that thought. All of us. That's why we keep
Correct.
saying over and over and over and over the same things. So
Correct.
to get that, we are all trying to read this Bhagavad Gita and make sure that we calm down first. Ultimately, we have to calm down. We have to do lots of yogas and stuff like that. And then automatically we'll get patience and we'll realize one day, oh no, God knows what to give me today at this point of time. Then we'll realize that. So we have
Correct.
to keep continuing and keep doing lots of meditations, yoga, and stuff like that, and make sure that we try to settle down.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. You said it very well. Ultimately, we are in a world where we don't have that patience, and we are not alert. I mean, in fact, God is through examples showing how you cannot get everything that you wish for. He gives us enough for what we actually need, but he doesn't give us all the things that I really wish and want and everything, because he knows that he has to take care of so many people in the world. He has to distribute his
Exactly.
own gifts based on the amount of karma I have done. But I don't realize that, right? I think whatever I'm doing is enough and he should just fulfill my wish. But
Yeah.
he knows exactly. In Upadesha Saram, beautifully the shloka, Karturajnaya prapyate palam, you know, uh, whatever karma you have done, there is there is a deposit that goes. And according to the deposit, When it matures, he gives us a result. But that time for maturity is that patience that you were talking about now, you know.
Yes.
We are able to see all this when it comes to materialistic world through this bank and all that, which gives us that idea. But I don't use that towards my transaction with God. When it
Yes.
comes to God, I expect something more, you know,
Yeah.
which is not fair to him. Like Meenu said, you know, it's really, he's jobless. I mean, it's really not fair to him. But we are treating him that way. So that's the kind of bhakti that we are really practicing today, you know. So I wanted to keep bringing that point up because otherwise, in our mind, it will always be the case that we have to change the mindset. We have to change our attitude by which we go to the temple to pray. And but you know, Krishna is actually not saying that that is bad. You know, for him, he doesn't say it is papa karma or anything, and he doesn't say it is actually not allowed. He does not even say that this kind of transaction bhakti that we have, that is not allowed. You know, he in fact is very compassionate in that regard too. All he's saying is that, guess what? Like Ananta said, you know, I can give you a beautiful, beautiful gift, the highest gift that you can ask for, which only as a human being you can visualize. I'm going to give you that. Okay. And every other things that you are asking for, I will give it to you no matter what. You know, I will give you, but I want to tell you that that will be an obstacle that will prevent you from looking at the bigger picture. You know, that will prevent you really on getting the highest, most beautiful gift that I can give you. So this is how he looks at it. And so, in a sense, this kind of bhakti that we do, which is with desire for something, is actually more of a rajasic bhakti, you know. It'll give us material benefit, but it will be an obstacle. So Krishna keeps telling us in this from the way first chapter onwards, you know. So this transition in a bhakti have to be gradual, which means that, you know, you cannot just give up everything. Like when Suvarna was saying, you know, everything is connected to BMI. I can think about giving everything away. It cannot happen. So then he starts with this karma yoga and everything, you know, when he says, start to divinize your desires. Just turn the attention. Instead of saying that everything is for me, me alone, let me just expand it. And again, here also we have our own simple things in our lives. Whenever I make something, I always make something for one more person because who knows, somebody may come home and I have to give something to them. So I just change every act in such a way that I'm not doing it only for me. I'm doing it for me and my neighbor, me and my colleague, me and somebody else, you know. So this is the way our transformation slowly becomes from the point of me to that kami karma is actually reduced. And then I slowly start to ask for that peace, you know. I ask for that knowledge. I ask for how I can be more of a vairagi, you know. So jnana vairagya siddhyartham or chitta shuddhi, or, you know, give me God the ability to sit for Bhagavad Gita, you know, the ability to learn Shastras. All this, we ask for it. And it's only because of that aspect that we are able to slowly, slowly transform all these materialistic desires to a spiritual desire. So everything that I'm asking for, that ability, that quality of asking has not changed. So all we're doing is we're just expanding that aspect, you know. Like, for example, this thing that, you know, when I put a spoonful of salt in just a small amount of water, we can imagine how salty it is. But the same spoonful of water, as I expanded by putting it in a vessel of water to a large, like 20-gallon vessel of water to an ocean, how it gets diluted, that same desire now gets diluted to expand more and more. So that's the transformation, what we're talking about in transformation of the materialistic desires. So it goes to all the way ultimately to dissolve in such a case, in so much that that desire becomes like completely a non-materialistic desire. So even asking for help to get my spiritual sadhana, that one is, it's really not material. That is a spiritualistic desire, you know. So uh, and asking again, you know, wealth so that I can transform more and more people, that becomes of a spiritual desire. And that leads to the purity. And that is exactly why he comes and he says, you know, that bhakti with desire and with no desire. So one transforms in the desire by going from something which is with a materialistic need to something which is more of a spiritual need. So there is a change here. So that's why I put this up. You know, bhakti with desire is governed by rules of worship. What do we mean by that? Basically, uh, any ritual which is prescribed by any temple, you know, anything, there is a certain rules we have to follow. Like, you know, I mean, you have to take a bath, you have to make sure that the place of worship is very clean and everything. There are rules for that one. Now, there is a logical reason for that too. Now, we may say, you know, oh my God, you know, there's so much of rituals. Do I really need to spend my time on all this ritualistic worship? Well, it is absolutely necessary because in a world where I'm asking for some material, that material, where is that going to come from? It is going to come from the world itself. You know, somewhere, like, you know, they always say, what is that? If a butterfly flaps its wing in Brazil, there will be a thunderstorm in, say, Dallas or something, you know? You may say that small thing which is happening in somewhere else, how does it have an effect somewhere else? Well, that is where this rules of worship comes into play. When I'm asking for something from the world, I have to ensure that that world is taken care of, you know. So, for example, that cleanliness, that prayer that I offer, all this. So, there are rules which our rishis have come up in our Karma Kanda where they have mentioned all this. So that is the rules of worship that goes whenever I'm asking for something with a materialistic desire. But when it comes to where I don't have any desire, materialistic desire, I have only a spiritual desire, then that is a point when my attitude changes. Now, my attitude is that I really don't want anything from the world. I want to see you as part of this whole world. So that's the selfless attitude that comes in. And that is why that shloka of 26, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, no, you may bhaktya prayachati, you know, where he says that at the end of the day, then Krishna is saying, you know, anything you offer, after all, you're taking it only from my own garden and you're giving it back to me, you know. So all the fruits, all the things, everything, they are only a means, a vahanam, you know, to get back to him. So that's the patram pushpam phalam toyam, you know. So it doesn't matter whether you offer me that thing with a silver spoon or a stainless steel or a gold spoon. At the end of the day, that is nothing but a vehicle. So to all these, a fruit, a flower, anything is nothing but a vehicle to offer your love to me, you know. And that is where in Shloka 27, he says that, well, every action at that point is nothing but at the offering to the feet of the Lord. You know, so the entire creation consisting is nothing but it's a law of creation. So any action that is offered into this creation, which has this network of the laws of creation, those laws, everything are only helping you evolve. And therefore, anything that you offer is just for me alone. And so for somebody who is without any desire itself, you know, where is a question of such a person to be anxious about a result? And that is why this Mai Sarvani Karmani Sanyasyat Dhyatma Chetasa Nirashihi. There is absolutely no anxiety at all. Nirmamo Bhutva Yudhyasva Vigata Jwaraha. It's a very, the old shloka, it's from chapter 3. But the connection is whatever you do, this will actually do this a little bit of analysis, but as part of this bhakti part of it, why I wanted to bring this is how that bhakti at the highest level is the same as what is said here as a karma, karma, Mai Sarvani, just offer everything to me. That's what in chapter 3 he said as part of Karma Yoga. And that same thing in chapter 9, you see the relation of Bhakti Yoga, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kauntiya tat kurushasva madarpanam. Just offer it to me. And that same thing in chapter 3, in relation to karma, he explains this aspect here. So that is, go ahead, Anand.
Yeah, just looking at the sloka, the 927, Yat Karoshi Disnasi. Chinmaya mission, people can relate. For the kids to tell, to explain the same way. The song was there like Khate bhi Ram kaho, Pite bhi Ram kaho. I mean, kids, they used to get that. So just trying to,
Yes.
So to teach the same thing to kids,
Yeah, and Meenu can relate that to it very well because she teaches that song with so much amount of love and the way she brings all the actions together. You're absolutely right. So what you're saying is in Meenu's class, which is only 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds, she's already teaching chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita and chapter 9, right, Meenu?
Right now, I'm teaching second grade Bal Ramayana, but I used to teach kindergarten before, so I can understand that song, alphabet song. Khate bhi Ram bolo, pite bhi Ram bolo. Bolo, Ram,
Right.
Ram, Ram. They used to get so excited. So they used to Ram, Ram, Ram 3 times.
And today is Ram Navami. So for you all, that's Ram Navami today. Happy
Yes.
Ram Navami.
Happy Ram Navami to all.
And actually, that reminds me, I know I'll mention it again at the end. Next week, we are going to Ayodhya. So as part of Chennai Mission Chennai, there's about 750 to 850 people, I think, have signed up to one train going to Ayodhya, next week. Ayodhya and Varanasi and those places. Yeah. So in that regard, this is where we are. We finished, the Sakama Bhakti, which is what we discussed so far. And then we have this worshippers of Anya Devatas. Amma beautifully pointed that out. And, in 24 and 25, he wants to say that those people who are focused on the smaller Devatas to get their wishes fulfilled, Krishna says, of course, I will fulfill that. But guess what? That is an obstacle for you to go even further in your journey of transformation. So that is where 24, 25. And then in 26, he comes to that aspect of offering simple things. But at the end of the day, what we're offering is our love. That is the most important thing, because everything else, he says, you're just taking it from my garden and giving it back to me. But what is it that you want to really, really offer? That is the part of it. He says this. And that's how the 26, he says, Krishna is really saying that, I do not bother whether what medium you're offering. I only care that it is absolute, pure, unconditional love. That is the only thing. And that is a kind of gift that you're giving to me, So this is, we saw this. And Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, we saw that ultimately is nothing but we just need pure love out of it, nothing else when offered. And this thing, what does it do? It really, by understanding very clearly that whatever we are offering It is just pure love for that Lord. And when I see that Lord everywhere, it is really the foundation for building a very strong relationship. So if I build that kind of a relationship with Ishvara, then I can take the same thing in how I'm building a strong relationship with my own family, my own family where people have come into my lives. How do I ensure that I'm maintaining a strong bond with them? You know, of course, it starts initially, like, for example, when two people get married and they're coming into a relationship. Uh, in the beginning, they don't know each other at all. So how do they start building their strong bond? They start to, exchange gifts. And today we have enough days like Valentine's Day, anniversaries, and the first time I met you. So I have to celebrate the anniversary of the first time I saw you, you know, and then the first time we exchange a gift, I have to have an anniversary for that, right? Like, for example, now I see on Facebook, for example, I have my Arangetram anniversary, then I have my graduation anniversary of the day I graduated from school. I have to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the day I graduated from school, college, all this, so we have enough days to exchange gifts. But then material exchange by itself, is not really enough. It's the attitude, the time that I'm spending with each other. What are the thoughts that goes through? What is the kind of exchange that I did? So when I take those days in a day-to-day thing to do it, it's the same thing that applies to my worship with that Supreme Lord, So when I'm doing all those rituals, that again, it goes back to this bhakti, it's what kind of bhakti am I practicing? In all this, when I'm doing all these rituals, I make sure that I'm actually doing it very well. I do the same thing. I spend the time with the Lord. You know, we may think, okay, but the Lord is not really talking to me. That is not the case at all. Actually, that is the time when He's talking the most to us. So we are practicing that, and so we may be offering a very simple gift, but then the attitude of devotion and love that comes. So we are actually practicing the attitude of building that love for the Lord. So the change in mindset needs to happen in the kind of bhakti. So then in Shloka 27, Krishna says that even if you're not able to offer me anything, I'm giving you one other idea. He says, okay, I know you have to eat, and I know you have to do many other actions. I know you have to please the boss. I know you have to, do something you have to mow the lawn. Now that, spring is almost over, your grass is going to start growing. So every single action, he says, you just make it, it's like, writing the check, you just write the check to me, offer that to me. So in a sense, actually, what is he trying to do? He's actually saying, you give your ego to me. Anything and everything which you think you're doing, you just give it to me and I will just take care of you. So we have this shloka, Kayena vacha manasendriyirva buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayana yeti samarpayami. So just samarpanam, do the samarpanam to me. That is all. Any work, any mundane work. So uh, again, just I wanted to bring that relation with Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi to this Kayana Vacha Manasendriya Yeva. So, uh, when I'm even at work, for example, I know my boss is there, I know my colleagues are there, I know there are people who I absolutely don't want to work with them. But that is where I think that, there also I have Ishvara in front of me. So when I have that thought of Ishvara in and through everything, then I really, I start to see Ishvara everywhere. So this Mai Sarvani Karmani, that shloka is just the Karma Yoga shloka, which brings that. So the idea is Krishna is really bringing this technique of bringing the worship in our daily life through these two shlokas. And in this particular shloka, the whole idea is really to remove completely the I-ness in whatever I'm trying to do. That's the simplest and most common, so in the most simplest of all the things that we do, which is Yad Ashnasi, Yad Karoshi is the first one, Yad Karoshi, Yad Ashnasi. Yad Ashnasi is whatever I eat, I offer it to God first. So Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihir, Brahmagno, or just being grateful. The Christian prayer is, I offer my thanks to God. I offer my, I don't know, I was seeing some show, where the whole idea is everyone holds hands, they also pray, I offer thanks to the hands that made this food, you know. So that is Yadashnasi, which I'm doing that. And yet Juhosi, whatever Nitya Karma I'm doing, whether it is looking after my family, doing everything, I offer that to you. Yet Dadasi, whatever I'm offering as charity, whatever I'm, it doesn't matter for whatever I do, that also I'm offering to you. So, and yet tapasyasi, whatever tapas I'm doing, and the simplest of tapas, I guess, today, these days, of course, is going to the gym and losing weight, right? That is the kind of tapas we do. Starting from that point, I'm saying, to the point of doing a 16-hour fast, that is another tapas. But of course, we are looking at, things like Ekadasi Vratam or any kind of fasting, what I do. Just convert that as, again, as an offering. So that is what he says, Tad Madarpanam Kuru, So just offer it to me. Just offer it to me. So again, this is the mental attitude needs to change. It is nothing more. We are not giving up everything. Krishna says, don't give anything at all, because if you just give up anything, that will lead to a lot of suppression. But here, just change your attitude. So starting from 28 now, he then says, he's giving us some idea of what can happen to you. What is the transformational change that happens, when you incorporate this kind of a worship, which is those two shlokas, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam and Yad Karoshi Yadashnasi. When we offer that kind of worship, he says, basically you are completely free of the results of the action. Like last time, I think I gave this example of this lady, she goes to the Ganges, and when she sees the Mahatmas, she offers all the fruits and she prays that, please not just take my fruits, but even take this feeling of the fact that I gave you something to you, take that feeling also away from me, because even that kind of a feeling can create a kind of a bondage for me and will prevent me, is an obstacle against for me for my spiritual growth. So take that away also. So that is the kind of the ultimate of really of leading again the spiritual life. So in Shloka 28, he takes us really to what is sannyas, what is really that renunciation, what is this result of that kind of an offering, So he says that any karma, any puja that you do can basically, he kind of warns, he says, there are two kinds of punyam you can get. One of them is a materialistic punyam. And the materialistic punyam is, Krishna says, or we have seen that before too, is when we pray to the Lord, it's not that he will not give us. He will give whatever we want. But he will also see what is good for us. So that, for example, if I need water for my house, or if I need anything, or if I need more money or anything, he will just give me all that. But he always also says that, just be careful what you wish for. So in Shloka 28, last time we just started seeing this, Shubha Ashubha Palair Evam Moksha Se Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mam Upaishyasi. So from all the results, all the things that I do, he says that just by even offering the fruits of any action to me, you're going to be completely free. And what does it do? It really puts the mind in a sense of yoga, yoga, which is a complete connection with that Lord, sannyasa yoga yukta atma. And by having that complete connection with me, you're going to be completely liberated. You're going to get the moksha. So that is what he's trying to say here. Now, again, if I look at the way our lives are today, right? So when we go for a wedding, or when whenever we give any gift to somebody, right? We have this thing of a return gift. We feel that we have to give a return gift. And but what does it do actually? A return gift again keeps you in this cycle of giving a gift. I give a gift, you give a gift. Constant, that there is a kind of a bondage. So in our grahastha ashrama, that basically is kind of keeps us in bondage. And what Krishna is saying is, I want to liberate you even from that. So Shubha and Ashubha Palai Evam. So he said, Krishna, Arjuna, you are going to be free from Shubha, which is Punya Phalam, and Punya Phalam meaning, which means materialistic phalam here. And Ashubham is meaning any kind of negative consequences that could come from this aspect. So he says, everything I'm going to just completely take it away from you, liberate from you, so that your mind is completely calm. When Suvarna was saying about this calmness, how can calmness ever come to us? It can come only when there is absolutely no expectation at all, right? So that expectation is this Shubha Ashubha Pala, there is absolutely no this, and that is this yoga of renunciation. He's taking us to this highest level of sannyas. So, like, especially in Chinmaya Mission also, we say a lot about, what is really sannyas? Sannyas is not just taking on the orange garbs and, of course, the orange garbs and all reminds you of that sannyas. But then for people like us who are in the grahastha ashram, how can I get that mental sannyas in my mind? So that is what the shlokas, the last 3 or 4 shlokas is trying to tell us, is to develop that attitude in my mind that everything is his. Everything is. I'm taking from him, I'm giving it back to him. Ultimately, it's just the only thing that is left for me is to fill my heart with love, which is pure, unconditional love. That is the only way that I can do it. And anything that prevents me from giving that love is my own ego, my own ego, which is expecting something from back from this return gift that we are always trying to get. But I want to even give that up. And again, I want to connect this shloka now to chapter 6, where we saw in chapter 6, or the beginning shlokas, he talks about anashrita karma phalam, karyam karma karoti yaha, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. So there, this word yoga, the sannyasi word comes in, sannyasi cha yogi cha, na nirag nirna chakre, yam sannyasamiti prahu. So those are the people who have called sannyasis, yogam tam vidhi pandava, know that na hyas sannyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaschana. So sankalpaha, it's not in the it's not in just in the action, but it is in the mind. He says, they are the ones who are actually the true yogis, who are actually sannyasis, who have mentally given up things. So the mamu paishyasi. So such a person, they liberate. Only those person who mentally they've given up all this one, such a person completely merges with me. Mam upaishyasi, meaning that such a person completely merges with me. He becomes one with me. So this also, we need to carefully understand it. What do we really mean by this merger? Like in companies, they merge, mergers and acquisitions. When they merge, each of the independent companies which come together, they still maintain somewhat their identity. And these mergers, like, we see even Delta, for example. Earlier, we had this airline called Northwest, and Northwest merged with Delta, and then the whole thing became Delta. In the beginning, they always kind of merge slowly. They'll keep their own individual things, but ultimately, you see, like with the airlines, everyone becomes just pure Delta. There's a complete merger of the things. So the idea is merger is really dropping this misconception. It's the highest term of moksha, actually, is dropping the misconception that Lord or Krishna is away from me. Okay? But this Mam Upashasi means that he's not away from me. He is very, very close to me, so close that I am just him right now, to that extent. So, but I know it sounds like, oh my God, how can I be that Krishna? How do I drop that kind of notion? How do I drop that misconception that am I really the Krishna? So that can happen only through Jnana Yoga, through pure understanding. Only through understanding can we have that notion that I'm not really far away from Krishna. God is the closest to me. He is so close that I am that Lord. Aham Brahmasmi. That part of it, he brings us to that extent, Mamupaishisi. And that is why the shloka is so important from that point of view, where he's trying to say, Shubha Ashubha Palareva, moksha say, that is really moksha. Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatva Vimukto Mam Upaishasi. With that mind, if I'm totally in sync, Yoga Yukta, I'll be completely liberated and I'll come to you. So that is what in Shloka 28 he says. And then in Shloka number 29, he really starts to explain what does it mean now to be that Lord's devotee. Of course, I need to get to know him well. I need to know his glories. I need to know his glories, which all this was discussed all the way from chapter 7 onwards, But in this last 6 verses, he explains very clearly, again, coming back to, again, there is so much amount of, sometimes we may think there's so much amount of repetition here. Why is Krishna is repeating this again and again and again? Again, it's only because we are living at that level of BMI. As Suvarna always brings this point, BMI, we are living at that level of BMI. So he wants to make sure that he really explains this well. And he wants to also make sure that he's giving equal treatment to all his devotees, uh, because we may say many times the thought comes to me, why is Ishvara so partial to somebody else? Why is he, always giving the other person something, but not to me? It's not that he's not compassionate. His compassion is so much that it reaches even the most kind of sinful person, and he's actually available to all of us whenever we want, no matter what and who we are, and with what innate tendencies we have. He is actually always available, and that is why in Shloka 29, he starts to explain that compassion and his availability, which he's there for everyone. 2 shlokas here. So he says, Sammoham sarvabhuteshu, Sammoham sarvabhuteshu, na me dveshosti na priyaha, na me dveshosti na priyaha, ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi teshu chapyaham. Mayi teshu chapyaham. So he's kind of giving us this assurance that, I am actually the same to everybody. Okay. I'm really not partial at all. And name dveshyaha asti na priyaha. I'm, it's not that I don't like anybody, or it's not as if, somebody is my best friend. All I'm saying is that ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. So for those people who worship me with complete devotion, okay, but those who worship ye bhajanti, those people who worship me, to mam, who really pray to me, who are completely devoted to me, mayi te teshu cha api aham. But those who worship me with devotion are in me, and I am also in them. Again, this is that the second two lines. I know we've seen it in the early part of chapter 9, but in the last shloka where he talks about moksha, what is moksha, and how they are completely, that mind which is completely surrendered to me. He says, he's just giving the assurance that I'm actually, there is nothing, I'm being different to anybody. I'm the same to everyone. Okay. And to me, there is none hateful nor anybody dear, but those who worship me with devotion. I'm there. So I'm really completely the same to everybody. So ultimately, it is the onus is all upon us. If I have a completely pure heart, okay, then I can actually reflect that glory of the Lord. Just like, for example, the sun shines the same to everybody. But the reflection of the sun can happen only if the surface is clean, right? Just like, when I look at a mirror, if the mirror is completely clean, I am reflected, I can see a beautiful picture of myself. Like nowadays, when I think about the phones, the phone's camera is becoming so much more sharper and sharper. It really brings out the best in us, or because of the sharpness of the image. So that's how our mind has to be. Our mind has to be completely so sharp and so clear. It can reflect everything of who I am. And that is the glory of, what he's saying here. So sarva bhuteshu aham samaha. I am the same. I'm not any different from anybody. It's all a matter of how pure and clean am I. Dveshaha na asti. So, like even in Saundari Lahari, Shankara points out beautifully that how the moonlight, it falls everywhere beautifully, whether it's somewhere where there's a lot of garbage or where it's a beautiful mansion. So too, Krishna is saying here that that grace of mine is available for everyone. In fact, he says, I cannot give more to someone. I cannot even withdraw anything what I want. I'm just, that grace is there for everyone. It's just a matter of how much I'm making myself available to receive that grace. Like I think Swami Chimananda is one example where he says if your room is closed with all the windows, yes, it is going to be dark. How are you going to bring the light in? Just open the windows and you just receive that grace, right? So too, he says that that grace of mine is completely available, for there's absolutely no dvesha, at least I'm not closed to anybody. There is nobody who is hateful towards me. And I do not have any favorites, he says. Yeah, no one is more dear to me. Everybody is the same. And it's not as if moksha is available only to this group of people. Like, for example, I mean, um, like in the Christian faith, right? They have this thing that you have to be a Christian, and only then you can actually I mean, they don't use the word moksha, but they say, what do they say? I don't remember exactly the word, but there is
Is it
yeah,
like a salvation?
salvation. Correct, correct. You're right. So they say you have to be a Christian to receive salvation, right? But here Krishna is saying that no, that is not true. Anyone and everyone is available to get that moksha. It all depends upon me and me alone as to how much am I pure enough, how much am I allowing that Krishna's grace through shine through me. Therefore he says, Krishna says, ye mam bhaktya bhajanti, So only those people who have that sadhana chatushtaya, the shama, dama, uparati, titiksha, mumukshutvam. Only for such people, I am completely mayite teshu, mayite teshu cha api aham. So in this, he says, I'm completely available. Like, in 7th chapter, Krishna says, I'm available for any kind of goals you want. But at the end of the day, the person who has that mumukshutvam, for coming to me and me alone, so for such persons, mai te teshu cha api aham. That purity is there, and that purity itself is none other than that Krishna. That is what he's trying to say here. So, so far, so that is basically, so far, if you look at it from up to shloka number 29, from 20 to 29, almost, we have now seen bhakti in two different ways. One is with desire, and then nishkama bhakti, which is without any desire for material objects. So that whole aspect, all the way from 20 to 29, we have actually really seen this. And so next we come to the shlokas of 30 to 34. So this again, there are one or two beautiful shlokas where he talks about it, and he will actually kind of recap bhakti in how in the form of sadhana. It doesn't matter what the kind of sadhana we do at different stages. So that also he will explain to come here. So we will look at that aspect of bhakti in the next class. From 30 to 34, we will start to look into that aspects. Okay. There's some very beautiful concepts coming up. But I don't want to start that because there's an aspect which is very beautifully explained on this aspect. So we'll do that next week. So sorry, we won't have next week. I know I put a date here, 18th, which is actually today's 18th for me here, but that is not true. We won't have a session next week, but we'll meet the week after. Okay, I will put that in the WhatsApp group also. So this is not correct. It's not 18th. It'll be, what date will that be? Will you be able to check and tell me?
So we won't have on the 24th, which is next Wednesday, but we'll have
Correct.
it, we'll meet on the 1st.
May 1st, correct. We'll
Okay.
meet on May 1st. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shantihi. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate. Purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.